Okay, this is the last part of today's notes, the last part of today's examples. We have this person, they're going to a book fair, and we have lots of different lines, and the lines are all telling us the total cost depending on the number sold. But the problem is they didn't include the numbers, so that means we're going to have to interpret the graphs based off of these descriptions over on the left side. Let's look at the first description. This person spent $2 on 6 erasers. And then it wants to say which one of these lines models that situation. How we're going to find that, you can tell lines apart by their slopes. The reason you can do that, can tell the lines apart by the slopes, is because, look at these. Well, they all have in common that they touch the origin, but the difference is the steepness. And since the steepness is different, that's going to lead you to the conclusion that slope is different. Sorry, that looks terrible, but I'm at the edge of my screen when I'm writing that, so my hand is like not very stable. But the slope is different for each one of these lines. So let's just let's find the slope of this situation, and if we can see that we have units on these numbers, then whenever we're finding the slope, we're actually going to be finding the unit rate, and that's how all of this connects to today's lesson. So we'll find the unit rate because we have units. The unit rate is going to come from, you divide the y by the x. Whenever the graph goes through the origin, we're going to have to make the fraction that divides the y by the x, which is the number of dollars, which is 2, by the 6 erasers. And if we reduce that fraction, that's going to be 1/3, $1 for every 3 erasers. And since we're doing the unit rate, we need the bottom part to be 1, so we're going to have to actually divide 1 by 3, and you should know that 1/3 is $0.33 per eraser. All right, but then once again, do any of these lines have numbers on them? Any of these lines? We know that we need a slope of 0.33. None of these graphs have numbers on them, so we're going to need to continue our search by finding more slopes. In the second situation, the key numbers are $9, and he buys a toy for himself and 2 brothers. If we look at the graph, the dollars are the y's and the number of items are the x's. So whenever we do the unit rate, we'll put the $9 is on the top of the fraction because that's the y. And then how many toys did he buy? He bought 3 toys. So that'll be on the denominator. 9 divided by 3 is $3 on the top divided by 1 toy. That's how that fraction reduces down. So this unit rate is $3 for every toy. Let's compare that to the first one. The other one was 0.33. This one is 3. That's a huge difference. That's like a 10 times difference. So we just need to make sure that the number 2 is very far away from our answer for the number 1. Let's find the unit rate here. We're going to divide the y by the x. We have $5 and 7 markers. $5.60. Which one of those are the y's? It's the dollars. So we'll do $5.60 on top, and we'll divide by the X, which is 7 markers. Okay, so let's do this division. Does 7 fit into the number 5? It doesn't, so we'll have a 0. Does 7 fit into 56? It does, and it fits in there 8 times with 0 remaining. So $5.60 divided by 7 markers is 80 cents for each marker. For every 1 marker. Let's look at that number. 80 cents for every 1 marker is less than number 2, but it's more than number 1's slope. Let's find this final one, and then we should be able to determine which graph goes with which question. We have $7.50 for 6 small action figures. The unit rate comes from the y's dividing by the x's, and we had $7.50 divided by 6 figures. How many times does 6 fit into 7? 1 time, with 1 remaining. How many times does 6 fit into 15? 6 fits into 15 twice, with 3 remaining. How many times does 6 fit into 30? That's a 5 times. That's $1.25 for each 1 figure. Okay, we have all of our slopes. Now we're going to compare the lines. Which of these slopes is the smallest slope? Which unit rate has the smallest number? And it looks like that's the first person, Toy. So the first person is going to go with the line that is the least steep. And that's D. Then to find out who's next, let's do the top one, this most steep line. Is going to need the highest slope. And the highest slope, I think it was number 2, and yes, it was number 2, it was Eric. The most steep line is going to go with question number 2 because when we did the unit rate, that was the largest final answer. It was $3. We have 2 to pick from now. We have Paula and we have Kevin. Paula's slope or unit rate was 80 cents for each marker. Kevin was $1.25 for each one. So Kevin had a higher slope, which means he's going to be line B because that's more steep, and C is less steep, so we'll need to pick that with the one that's smaller, which is Paula. So number 3 is C, and number 4 will be B. Okay, I need you to answer this in your journal. How did we determine which line represented the cost of buying the action figures? Let's just summarize. How do we figure out which line went to which situation?